I did a survey, my favorite survey, asking people that if the business on a scale of 1 to 10 has changed by 10 in the last 15 years, how much finance has changed? And the answer from the senior finance people, senior finance executives, is always somewhere around between 5 to 7. So we ourselves recognize that finance is not progressing fast enough. So the dilemma right now in the business world is businesses expect a lot to contribute it from finance. Strategy is one of the very critical topic which businesses need help from the finance people. And the other thing is that many people complain that, look, I'm already too much occupied in my work. How do I find time for these things? Look, we have also, generally speaking, accounting and finance profession has also not been able to restructure its format and its work uh, process and structures. Because with very powerful ERP systems available in the last 10, 15 years, the work environment should significantly change, and it has not. If you look at a typical accounting finance department, we are doing the same way we have been working last 10, 15 years. So we have the luxury of really having powerful ERP systems, but we are not using all of them to our advantage. So the purpose of this program, first of all, is to catch up on the education side. So we are talking about strategy. And that's one of the very, very critical part of the grooming and development of the senior finance professionals, which all of you recognize. That is why you are here. The other challenge is that despite will and desire and intention of the most finance professionals, we are so much trapped, we are so much locked up in our work environment, in our jobs, that we don't find time. It's the demand of the job, it's the demand of the organization, it's the structure of the organizations that we are not able to really find out opportunities. Now, I have been doing corporate trainings for 20 years, internally and externally. And I could tell you that more and more we are seeing that for especially finance professionals, is becoming more of a challenge to come out of their work environment, even for a day training. If you want to go for just 1 day training, it's hell of a lot of challenge how to find that 1 day. And those people who are able to find out that time, 1 day or 2 day or 3 days, in some cases 5 days training, they were seriously disappointed because the cost of their time is so high that the return they are getting on those training is not really justified. So they're getting frustrated that, look, I spared 2 days, 3 days, 5 days on this training, but I really did not learn as much as I was hoping for. So keeping in those two things in my mind, and also my inspiration came from this quote from Peter Drucker. Now, Peter Drucker was an amazing futurist. This is what he said in 1997. Universities won't survive. The future is outside the traditional campus, outside the traditional classroom. The distance learning is coming up fast. I came across this quote about 3 years ago. And as I said, I was doing a lot of corporate trainings. I got shocked and inspired. I said, wow, he projected this in 1997, and we are still doing the traditional way. So I said, let me experiment. And I was not a big fan of online training. But after going through this quote, I started a program called What It Takes to Become a CFO online. And it was fantastic. I mean, I think more than 200 people have passed through that training now. And the results were fantastic because, first of all, we solved the challenge how to find time, because we were doing off time, weekends or evenings, and that's easier. So if you are really willing to learn, you don't mind spending a couple of hours outside your work hours, right? And that is what you are doing right now, sitting on the weekend. So that's what is not an issue for the senior level finance professionals. But also, I could tell you, many of you have already attended my previous trainings and you know how effective it is. Now, there is a couple of compromises, like I'm not able to see your body language and you're not able to see my body language, but how critical is it? Now, it's a lack which is being compensated by a lot of other strengths and advantages. So my bottom line is that the online training is much more effective in totality. So I'm now almost completely focused on online trainings because it saves my time. I mean, previously, to conduct a 1 day or 2 day training, I needed to travel to Dubai a 14 hours flight. And now I'm doing most of the trainings, doing less travel and doing most of the training sitting in the comfort of my home in my pajamas actually, right? And you are probably doing the same thing. So it's more relaxed environment, more learnable. So that's what I think we have learned through this 2-3 years experience. The other thing also from the same amazing gentleman, Peter F. Drucker, who said, business has only two functions, marketing and innovation. And I thought about it. And I said, in today's environment, that's also true for most professionals. We have to really two things, two functions for an individual professionalism point of view. Keep innovating, which means keep learning new things. Number one, you need to do personal marketing because the world is so competitive and there is so much tight supply and demand that if you don't do personal marketing, people would not be able to know about your talent and you will miss the opportunities. And this is an area we significantly lag behind. So I created this framework, which you are seeing on your screen, called CFO Leadership Competency Model. And in this framework, I try to identify the areas which are really critical. Now, you don't see any IFRS here because really, honestly, I think that's not the criteria on which your career success is dependent. Once you reach to a certain level, and most of you are at the mid-level or beyond mid-level, so it's granted, it's given. You have those technical qualifications. Most of you are already qualified professional accountants. That is why you are there where you are, right? But the challenge for us is really to move from the mid-level to the top level. And the top level, IFRS doesn't matter. Your technical knowledge doesn't matter. It's required, it's important, but that's not the deciding factor. What deciding factor is your leadership and what you see here. So I try to combine your innovation part and your marketing part into it. So yes, your productivity, peak performance is very important, but then emotional intelligence, you really need to connect with the outside world, your personal branding, your presentation skills, your relationship, your service orientation. These are in a way marketing aspects of your professionalism. And then on the technical side, as I said, probably you all already know more than enough about traditional accounting and finance things, but you need to develop strategic thinking, business modeling, value creation, performance management, things like that. Now, initially, I offered a program which was combining everything into that 12 weeks program. Later on, I realized that strategy is a subject which really requires some special focus. And based on that thinking and experience and observation, I created this program, Strategic CFO program, which we are studying now. The other model I have used very often is this, your career breakthrough strategy or the model. Now, we are not going to talk about it because this is not a career development program, but we would be using part of it. So if you look at so inner game, very important for part of your overall professional personality, inner game, outer game, what you offer and how you offer. So if you look at the outer game, which is your personal branding. So inner game is your mindset, outer game is your personal branding. Let's look at that part. The old paradigm is, look, I'm a financial expert. I know financial accounting or treasury or those things very well, right? Well, the new requirement is you have to develop a brand which shows your business knowledge and strategic leadership. Now, business people, especially the C-level, the decision maker, they already know that you are good in financial management. That is why you are there. If you are even a controller or CFO, they assume that you are good. You don't have to really sell yourself on that. But they expect that you are strategic. They expect that you have a good business knowledge. That is where you need to sell yourself. And the premise of this program, Strategic CFO program, is really to develop your brand into that area. So let's talk about what we will be covering. So I think you are also familiar with this chart. This is my famous value creation process chart. And this is a typical flow. So every business, every for-profit business is basically designed and built and started to provide return to the shareholders. This is what we call shareholders value or creating shareholders wealth. That's a fundamental truth, right? So ultimately, business has to achieve that purpose. But in today's complex business models, it's not easy. So first of all, profit maximization has transitioned into value maximization. And value is a much broader concept. And you need a lot of stakeholders into it. So it's not that simple just to create shareholders value. That's why we talk about customer value and employees and other stakeholders. So we'll talk a lot more detail about it. But what is value in a nutshell? for the purpose of this program. Value is the difference between the benefits enjoyed by a firm's stakeholders and its cost to produce those benefits. Very simple, right? If you just focus on it, then you will get to the crux of this strategy management. Who are the stakeholders? Not only shareholders and not only customers, but also employees and suppliers, and also society is part of the stakeholders. And what is a strategy in this perspective? A strategy is simply a game plan to create value. Very simple. That how do we take all these components of the business, how do we take these stakeholders, and how do we put them together in a meaningful way to create and maximize our value? That's all about a strategy in a very simple nutshell. It's a value proposition of a business. And value creation is not one way in this case. Value creation is really mutual between all the stakeholders, except shareholders. Shareholders, as I said, the fundamental principle of any business is to create shareholders value, end of the day. But before we reach there is a lot of interaction between different stakeholders, value creation for the business, value creation for them. So this flow explains that. Okay, based on this quick understanding of these principles, there are a couple of things to really comprehend at this point of time. So value creation process is twofold. Generally speaking, most business models are based on creating shareholders value through customer value. Most businesses understand that customer is a very critical part of the value creation process. How do they do it? They create twofold principles. Number one, they create high quality product and services, which creates customer value, right? Makes sense. And then and then sell those services and products at a price that results in profit, which will create shareholders value. Now look at these two principles very closely and look at some of the most successful business models. That's exactly what they are doing. Companies like Apple, companies like Amazon, companies like Google, creating high quality product and services and making it available at a highly competitive, acceptable price. Because now which one is more challenging, in my opinion, or in your opinion? First, people would look at these two principles and say, first one is really challenging, creating high quality product and services. Really? That's very simple. You put more resources and you can create more compelling product and services. Easy, right? Simple formula. But the main challenge is, more challenging part is how to sell those product and services at a price that creates shareholders value. Because if you don't create shareholders value, the whole purpose of the business model is gone. It's collapsed. So really, selling at a price to result in profit, that's a main challenge. And company like Apple and Amazon is doing fantastically. Apple is creating amazing, fantastic products and making it available at a price which is affordable. People are happy to pay that, right? Now, look from a finance professional's point of view. Where we are, as I said, this is the crux of the successful business models. Creating high value product and services, creating customer value, and then selling at a price which results in profit. Where we are, finance professionals. We are entirely focused on the second principle. That's what we call financial management. That looking at the revenue, looking at the profit, looking at the cost and saying, this is profitable, this is not profitable. It's very easy for you to go to the marketing department and tell them that these are the products you're selling at loss. Really? We don't understand the full value creation cycle. We are not there. We are even not close to the first principle, high quality product and services, creating customer value. And that goes hand in hand. You cannot manage one or the other in isolation. They really go together. And that's what the business or strategy management is. So I know that all of you are have high level of expertise in managing profits, prices, revenue, but really we need to understand how the high quality product and services are created, how they are positioned, how they are creating a high value, perceived value in the customer's mind, so they could pay a high price or affordable price for that. So when you see these slides, just contemplate on these things also. And then based on this, we talked about some of the key roles of the strategic CFOs, like if that is really the game of the success for successful businesses, what a strategic CFO has to do. Understand what drives value, right? Measure the value and then minimize the leakage of that value. Very simple, but very broad, and not many CFOs are doing that role. Not many. There are exceptions, but not many are doing that. So I think we also discussed that. So I'm coming to the objective of this program now. What are we going to do now? So if you really understand that paradigm, and you said that, okay, I'm willing to go into that value creation part and play my role as a strategic CFO, what you need to do, these are the various steps we'll be covering this program. So build up your strategy, knowledge, and skill first. As I said, our education, traditional and professional education, is not providing us with enough tool, number one. Number two, the things are changing so fast, so rapidly, that we need to keep learning. Even if you have attended a strategy program maybe 5 years ago, probably you need to learn it again because it's changing very fast. And then step by step, initiate strategy conversation. Very important. You can only do the strategy conversation when you are knowledgeable, right? When you understand things deeply. And then conversation also extend to making presentations, developing your brand, doing some trainings, and then getting involved in the strategic projects and really initiating an idea and own and drive strategic projects. Approach here is that we'll go model by model, module by module, covering different strategy models and framework. Now, there are hundreds of books on strategy, if not thousands. And they have diverse approaches, different ways and approaches to learn strategy. I have picked an approach which is easier and faster to learn and apply, especially for the finance professionals. So my design of this program is meant for finance professionals in mind. The models I have chosen to develop your strategy, knowledge, and your brand are easier to understand based on your financial background, like balance scorecard, like value chain analysis, like enterprise performance management. You will pick up very quickly on these things. The number one thing is for this program is to transition you into the role of a strategic CFO. How? By developing a deep and practical knowledge of the subject of strategy. That's very, very clear, number one. Number two, creating a personal brand. So not only that you develop knowledge, but the world needs to know, your business associate, your CEO, your other people need to know that you are a strategy professional. How would you do that? You will actively take part in a strategy conversation. You will getting involved in the strategy projects, and you would drive a strategy project. So that is how we'll achieve the objective of this program. And some, as I said, you will start doing it during the program. Some you will do after the program. Okay, so my promise in this program is this would be the most valuable business learning of your lifetime. This 3 months would be the most valuable business learning. Number two, you will develop a fresh mindset, a new mindset. How do you see your role in solving business problems? So it's not financial, it's not accounting, it's a business professional. How would you really solve business problems? A fresh mindset. And number three, your confidence to actively participate in a strategy conversations at the board level. So as I said, for your personal branding, it's very important that you demonstrate your knowledge. It's not about your MBA or executive MBA degrees. Nobody cares about that, but your practical knowledge, and that you could only establish by active conversation. So these three are my promises, but these promises are subject to your commitment. Very important. So that's your part. What you need to do, you need to develop a mindset right now to take the next 3 months as the most important learning project of your career. Most important learning project, 3 months. It's not very long. It will pass very quickly, I promise. Number two, your discipline. Schedule now at least 5 to 6 hours each week to dedicate to this training. As I said, if you slow down in the beginning, you would lose the tempo, you would lose the momentum, and you would never be able to catch up. So that's your opportunity. And number three, show your leadership. It's not about, you're not college students, you are practical professionals, you are senior, mature professionals. Show your leadership. Already have you 10, 15, 20 years experiences. So when you are working in your study groups, this is the opportunity and chance to show your leadership. Follow through with your group. If they are not coming up, inspire them, motivate them, practice your leadership. It's not, if you develop a lot of good knowledge of a strategy, but you don't have leadership skills, it's going to go west. So this is not a leadership program as such, but leadership and strategy goes hand in hand. And you need to understand that wherever you have opportunity, you practice that as well.